Hello everyone, I'm Zanindita Diasti joined me as the first speaker of NSC's Pasabara team. So ladies and gentlemen, today's motion is this House regrets OpenAI transition toward a for-profit structure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we reject today's motion and fully support the structural transition carried out by OpenAI. The proposition team believes that a world where the most advanced technology in human history, that is artificial general intelligence, can be created solely by relying on voluntary donation and the generosity of investors who care nothing about profits. This is a deeply flawed and unrealistic view of the real world. Before we present our argument, let's get a few things straight. They equate the term for-profit with a system that only cares about money. But in reality, OpenAI isn't transforming into a regular company, but rather transitioning into a public benefit corporation. This is a structure where companies are legally obligated to balance seeking financial gain with maintaining their public safety mission. Therefore, we will present three fundamental arguments. First, regarding financial realism, which argues that large-scale AI research requires significant capital, which cannot be met by a non-profit entity. Second, regarding the advantages of the PBC structure, which actually serves as the strongest legal shield to protect OpenAI from blind pressure from capital owners. And finally, the third argument is regarding the regularity of the structure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the first argument, the pro team builds their argument on the assumption that the most advanced technology in human history could be created solely by relying on voluntary donations and investors who don't care about profits. But OpenAI's transition to a for-profit company is not an act of greed, but rather a realistic and logical decision to secure the enormous capital needed to sustain AI research. But in fact, training and running an artificial intelligence model like GPT is not the same as building a regular applications. This process requires enormous computational costs ranging from giant-scale servers to purchasing hundreds of thousands of specialized processor chips, each costing billions of rupiah. When it was still a purely non-profit entity, OpenAI struggled to raise fresh funding. They had to compete with other technologies that had unlimited capital from the stock market. And the pro team worries that a for-profit structure will scare OpenAI into submission to investors. But however, let's consider the potential downsides if OpenAI refuses to transition. They will lack funding, the research will stagnate, and ultimately OpenAI will lose competitiveness and go bankrupt. If OpenAI dies, the future of AI technology will be completely monopolized by purely commercial companies that have no moral commitment to humanity from the start. By changing their structure, OpenAI can secure substantial investment independently, afford to pay the world's best researchers a decent wage to prevent them from leaving for competitors, and most importantly, maintain their position as an industry leader. Therefore, this transition must be supported because it is the only way for OpenAI to survive and have the financial strength to compete in maintaining the direction of AI development. And ladies and gentlemen, for the second argument, the pro team is concerned when they hear the term for profit, as they equate all commercial companies with traditional corporations that only care about money. They overlook the crucial fact that OpenAI is transitioning to a public benefit corporation, and the Public Benefit Corporation's legal model legally grants OpenAI management the right and obligation to prioritize public safety over the sole interest of seeking financial gain. And under traditional corporate law, a board of directors can be sued by investors if they intentionally take actions that reduce the company's profits. However, under a PBC structure, the rules are different. Legally, a company is required to balance two things simultaneously. First, providing shareholder value, and the second is achieving its agreed upon public interest missions. If OpenAI creates a powerful AI model in the future that poses a security threat or economic disruptions, its board of directors has full legal authority to delay or cancel the project's launch. Investors cannot sue or force OpenAI to release it for quick profits, as the PBC's legal contract protects such social decisions from the outset. The out-capped profit structure was too rich and left OpenAI in legal limbo when it came to making major business decisions. Therefore, it is clear that the transition to a PBC structure doesn't abandon OpenAI's humanitarian mission, but rather strengthens it with a legal shield that is legitimate and recognized by the state. And the last argument, the pro team believes that by slowing the pace of development through a non-profit structure, we will achieve safer and more regulated technology. This logic is actually the opposite. If AI uses a for-profit system, they will actually create better products. Furthermore, what the team's proposition says is that AI is non-social and dangerous. If AI is non-profit based, that means everyone can use it, right? And even the quality is limited, but if its profit profit-based, it can be better, and its users can be more filtered and segmented. By distributing its products commercially and widely, OpenAI is forcing global awareness and real governmental regulation to protect the public. And we can see concrete evidence from the history of ChatGPT's launch. When OpenAI was still a small research organization, no government in the world bothered to legislate on AI. However, once the project was commercialized, became a huge success and was used by millions of people in the industrial sector. Governments in various countries moved quickly to create regulations, such as in Europe, and various security guidelines in the United States. As OpenAI operates as a for-profit entity, they have direct legal responsibilities to consumers and trade laws. This forced them to build products with high security standards, robust systems, and robust protection against hacker attacks. The best security testing doesn't happen in the quiet confines of a competing lab, but rather when the technology is put to test the real-world dynamics. Therefore, encouraging the transition to a commercial structure is the best step to ensure that global AI safety standards are shaped by those responsible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the big picture. If OpenAI is forced to remain an underfunded non-profit, it will go bankrupt, and if OpenAI dies, the future of AI technology will be entirely dominated by purely commercial companies that have no moral commitment to human well-being from the outset. The transition to a public benefit corporations isn't a betrayal of OpenAI's original missions. Rather, it's a smart evolutionary move. This structure provides substantial commercial capital for innovation, while simultaneously locking the company's moral under a very strict legal umbrella. We cannot protect humanity from the risk of AI by remaining weak and behind. We protect humanity by leading the industry with strong capital and clear legal responsibilities. For all these reasons, we reject this motion. Thank you.